Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that digs through the sources so you don't have to. And today, wow, we're looking at an artist whose voice alone, it just commanded attention, didn't it? That incredibly distinctive, deep, languid voice of Alan Rickman. And it's not just us saying it. There was, believe it or not, an academic study looking at 50 different male voices, and they figured out that Rickman's voice, together with Jeremy Irons, was basically, scientifically speaking, the perfect male voice.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because you have this perfect instrument, this voice, but then think about how it was often used. Cinematic villainy, right? You say Rickman, and your mind jumps straight to Hans Gruber.
Or the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Exactly. Or, for a whole generation, Severus Snape. But that's just the surface. When you look at the sources, the man behind that voice is just so much more complex. We're talking about someone deeply rooted in serious theater, a director, a political activist, and his range. It went from these incredibly quiet, reserved, romantic parts all the way to, cult sci-fi comedy.
He won a BAFTA, an Emmy, a Golden Globe, so many awards, and yet it's kind of baffling. He's often called one of the greatest actors of his generation, never to even get an Oscar nomination.
Right.
So that's our mission today. We want to get past just the iconic villains. We're going to trace his whole life story, right, from his, surprisingly different start as a graphic designer, which lots of people miss, all the way to his very last performance. We really want to understand the artist, the sort of defiant figure behind that incredible voice. Okay, so let's start at the beginning, because his path into acting, it wasn't exactly straightforward, was it?
Not at all. He was born in Brentford, London, in 1946, grew up in Acton, more working class, and he had this dry wit about his background, Welsh mother, Irish grandmother on his dad's side. He used to joke he had not a lot of English blood. And his early life, it was tough. His father died of cancer when Alan was only 8. That's a huge blow for any kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
His mom was left to raise 4 kids, mostly on her own. The sources say they were rehoused by the council. She worked for the post office. Really struggled. You can see how that grounding might have shaped his later views, his empathy.
And before acting was even on the horizon, he was all about art, right? Like visual art.
Totally. Not just a hobby either. He was apparently really good at calligraphy, watercolor painting. He went to Chelsea College of Art and Design, then the Royal College of Art, finished up there in 1970.
So a proper art education.
A very serious one. And unlike actors who jump straight in, he actually pursued a career first. Graphic design. He worked for the Notting Hill Herald, even the Royal College of Art's own magazine, ARK. He actually called it a more stable occupation. Sensible, given his background, maybe.
Makes sense. And he wasn't just working for other people. He had his own studio.
Yeah. Ran a successful graphic design studio called Graffiti for 3 years with friends, which makes it even more, staggering that he decided to pack it all in.
Just like that. To pursue acting.
Seems like it. It must have been a really powerful pull. He wrote to RADIA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, auditioned, and got in, which is, pretty competitive.
Wow. So he's retraining from 72 to 74?
Right. And even then, he wasn't starry-eyed. He supported himself working backstage. He was a dresser for huge names like Nigel Hawthorne and Ralph Richardson. Imagine that, learning by osmosis, just being around those guys.
That backstage experience must have been invaluable. You mentioned the art background. Do you think that precision, like in calligraphy, fed into his acting later? He always seems so meticulous.
That's a really interesting thought. Visual arts demand that kind of accuracy, don't they? Composition, line. You definitely see that precision later in his directing, even how he held himself physically in roles.
Okay, so back to RADIA.
Yeah.
This is where the voice comes in, the famous voice.
Yeah, and it's not just about training. There was apparently a physical reason behind it. The sources mention he was born with a tight jaw, and one vocal coach even described him having a spastic, soft palate.
That sounds uncomfortable. Not exactly ideal for an actor, you'd think.
You wouldn't think so. But it seems that physical constriction, that tightness, actually contributed to the super low, deep tone. And maybe more importantly, it forced him into this very deliberate, almost languid delivery. That unique drawl, it came from overcoming a physical hurdle.
So it's partly biology, partly training. Amazing. And after Raw Day, he dove straight into theater.
Deep dive, yeah. British repertory theater, Shakespeare, experimental stuff. eventually landing at the Royal Shakespeare Company, the RSC. That's where the serious stage career really took off.
Right.
His big breakthrough role was in '85, playing the Vicomte de Valmont in the RSC's production of La Liaison Dangereuse.
Ah, yes. The ultimate manipulator.
Absolutely. That role made him a star on stage. And when it transferred, first to the West End, then Broadway in '87, that was it. Major stage actor status confirmed.
And he got nominated for a Tony for that and a Drama Desk Award, too. So years of hard graft on stage, serious critical acclaim, way before Hollywood even noticed him. It really underlines where he came from, that classical theater discipline.
Exactly. His foundations were rock solid. So when Hollywood finally does come calling, late '80s, it's not for some Shakespeare adaptation or a quiet drama. Nope. It's a massive action movie.
Die Hard, 1988. His first feature film.
His first feature film. And think about his age. He was 42. This wasn't some kid getting a lucky break. This was a highly respected theater actor stepping onto a completely different kind of stage.
But he nearly said no, didn't he?
He almost turned it down flat. Apparently, he read the script and thought, this isn't my kind of film. You know, coming from serious theater, an action movie about terrorists, he reportedly chucked the script across his room.
Huh. But they wanted him badly.
They really did. They persisted, and he finally agreed, but apparently on the condition he could contribute to the character, make him more than just a thug.
Which he absolutely did. That whole idea of Gruber wearing a sharp suit, not some generic terrorist outfit that was his touch, right, made him seem smarter, more sophisticated.
Totally. That detail, that precision again, turned Gruber into this unforgettable villain. Instant critical acclaim, huge impact. And like you said, AFI puts him at number 46 on their all-time villains list from his very first movie role.
Incredible. Then just 3 years later, 1991, he kind of doubles down on the villainy, but in a totally different way. The Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood.
Prince of Thieves.
Oh, the sheriff. And the story behind that is just brilliant. Apparently, he was really worried about getting typecast as the bad guy, especially another big blockbuster villain, so he kept saying no.
Really digging his heels in.
Completely, until the producers basically caved and said, okay, fine, do whatever you want with the part. Carte blanche.
And boy, did he run with it. That performance is just gloriously over the top. Pure pantomime evil, but so much fun. Everyone said he stole the whole movie.
He absolutely did. And the irony, that performance, the one he was so reluctant to do, won him a BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor.
Ah, the BAFTA. And his acceptance speech was classic Rickman, wasn't it? Perfect. So wry. He basically said, "This will be a healthy reminder to me that subtlety isn't everything." Just acknowledging the glorious lack of subtlety that won him the award.
It's amazing. So those two roles, Gruber and the Sheriff, they're etched in movie history. Empire magazine has him as the only actor on their greatest villains list twice. He accidentally became the face of cinematic evil for a while there.
Yeah, but that's exactly the problem he foresaw. He'd become the villain. He knew he had to make a sharp turn fast before that image stuck permanently.
And he did it immediately. That same year, 1991, was crucial. You have the Sheriff, but he also did this intense philosophical film called Closet Land. And most importantly, he starred as Jamie in truly, madly, deeply the romantic lead.
That move was genius. So deliberate, truly, madly, deeply showed this incredibly moving, vulnerable side audiences just hadn't seen. Roger Ebert nailed it when he wrote about how audiences watching him in that couldn't quite square it with the guy who played on Gruber. He just disappeared into this quiet, grieving character.
So in 1 year, the manic sheriff, the intense prisoner in Closet Land, and this heartbreaking romantic ghost. That's incredible range.
And the British critics recognized it. He swept up awards that year: Evening Standard British Film Award, London Film Critics Circle Award for Actor of the Year. And crucially, those weren't just for the sheriff. They were for the whole package, the sheer breadth of what he did in '91. It was him saying, loud and clear, don't put me in a box.
You really took control of the narrative there.
Absolutely. A masterclass in defying expectations.
Okay, so having successfully dodged the villain typecasting, he moves into what you could call his sort of prestige period in the mid-90s. Lots of acclaimed period dramas. He's playing the quiet hero now.
Exactly. You see it so clearly in Ang Lee's Sense and Sensibility in 1995, playing Colonel Brandon opposite Emma Thompson. Talk about a contrast with the sheriff.
Colonel Brandon is all quiet suffering and integrity.
Completely. And Emma Thompson, who became such a close friend and collaborator, she talked about how he could show the extraordinary sweetness of his own nature in that role. It's all restraint and hidden depths. That got him another BAFTA nomination and a Screen Actors Guild nomination too. And he showed he could do complex history, too. The very next year, 96, he's playing Amon de Valera in Michael Collins. Another BAFTA nomination for that one, his fourth. He was really moving between these thoughtful, reserved characters and complicated historical figures.
But the real awards powerhouse moment in this period came from TV, didn't it? Rasputin?
Oh, yeah, Rasputin, Dark Servant of Destiny for HBO in 96. That performance was just a tour de force.
What was it about that role that hit so hard?
I think it was how he captured all the contradictions of Rasputin. You know, the charisma, the intense faith, but also the manipulation, the scariness. Critics pointed out he didn't just play the cliches, he found the hypnotic quality, the volatility. It was big, theatrical almost, but incredibly intimate for the camera, too.
And the awards haul for that was just massive for a TV film.
Unbelievable. He won the Primetime Emmy, the Golden Globe, and the Screen Actors Guild Award, all for that one role, winning that triple crown. That just shows complete mastery of the format.
Total command. And thinking back to his art background, his visual sense, it sort of makes sense that around this time he also starts directing.
It does fit, doesn't it? Stepping
Yeah.
behind the camera, controlling the whole picture. He directed the stage version of The Winter Guest in 95, then adapted it into a film in 97.
Right, and that starred Emma Thompson and her mother, Phyllida Law.
Yeah, a very personal project, exploring that mother-daughter relationship. For an actor so focused on nuance, directing must have given him that ultimate control over the tone, making sure every beat landed just right.
He came back to directing later, too, with A Little Chaos in 2014. He starred in that as well as Louis XIV alongside Kate Winslet.
Mm-hmm.
What do these directing choices tell us? They seem like smaller, more character-focused films.
I think they show that storytelling, the complexity of character, was really what drove him, maybe more than just big commercial hits. A Little Chaos was this lovely, intricate character piece. Even if critics were mixed on the script sometimes, they usually praised his direction and the performances he got. He used his influence to get these quieter stories told.
And then, just as the 90s are closing out, he does another sharp turn. Back into comedy.
Yeah.
And these became absolute cult classics.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Just when you think you have him pegged. Think about Galaxy Quest in 1999, playing Sir Alexander Dane.
Dr. Lazarus, the Shakespearean actor stuck in the rubber suit.
Exactly. It's such a clever bit of casting, playing on his own classical background versus his, massive pop culture fame that was coming.
And Sam Rockwell, his co-star, said Rickman was crucial in making sure the film still had real emotional weight, didn't just stay parody.
Yeah, Rockwell said he was instrumental in making sure the script hit the dramatic notes, which is probably why that film works so well and still holds up. It earns its heart. And then, same year, 1999, he's Metatron, the voice of God, in Kevin Smith's Dogma.
Right. Another completely unexpected role.
So in the same year, he's playing the ultimate grumpy angel and a washed-up sci-fi actor. That's not just range. That shows a fantastic sense of humor about himself and his image.
Definitely. He clearly wasn't taking himself too seriously, despite the immense talent. Okay, so that brings us neatly to the role that, for millions, probably is Alan Rickman. Severus Snape. An incredible commitment, a full decade, all 8 Harry Potter films, starting in 2001.
It's huge, isn't it? A decade playing one character. And right from the start, in Philosopher's Stone, he set the tone. Dark, ambiguous, you couldn't quite read him.
And the key thing here, which is fascinating, is that he knew Snape's full story arc way before anyone else did, right?
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling told him personally.
Exactly. She gave him this one crucial piece of information about Snape's motivations, about his past, and that allowed him to layer his performance over 10 years, knowing the secret endgame. It's an incredible feat of sustained character work, holding that back.
And he had to maintain that focus, that commitment, during what sounds like an incredibly difficult time personally.
He was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2005.
Yeah, early 2005. Aggressive prostate cancer. He started treatment, eventually had surgery in early 2006.
Which was right around the time they were gearing up for the 5th film, Order of the Phoenix.
Right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So he's dealing with this major health crisis, potentially life-threatening, kept completely private, while having to decide whether to commit to several more years of this massive franchise.
That must have been an immense decision.
His diaries, which were published later, give some insight. He talks about how tough the treatment was, but professionally. The reason he decided to continue to see it through was about the character, the story. He actually wrote, "The argument that wins is the one that says, see it through. It's your story."
Wow. It's your story.
Yeah, he felt a responsibility to finish Snape's journey, even while facing his own mortality. Knowing that just adds another layer of poignancy to his performance in the final film, Deathly Hallows Part 2, in 2011, when Snape's full story is finally revealed.
Absolutely. And the critics really responded to that culmination. Kenneth Rand said Rickman, as always, makes the most lasting impression. But Peter Travers really captured it, calling the performance sublime at giving us a glimpse at last into the secret nurturing heart that Snape masks with a sneer.
Yeah. There was a lot of talk at the time, wasn't there, that his performance in that last film really deserved an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. It felt like the peak of this decade-long arc.
It really did. It felt like recognition was due for that incredible sustained work.
And even while he's deep in the Potter universe, he never abandoned the stage, did he? He kept going back.
Never. He was constantly juggling. Like right in the middle of the Potter years, 2002, he reunites with Lindsay Duncan, his co-star from Les Liaisons Dangereuses, for a revival of Noel Coward's Private Life.
I got another Tony nomination for that, second one.
Exactly. And then soon after Potter finished, in 2011, he's straight back to Broadway in a play called Seminar, won the Broadway.com Audience Choice Award for that. It seems like he used the stability and, let's face it, the financial security of Potter to fuel his real passion, which always seemed to be the theater.
A smart way to balance the different sides of his career.
Definitely. Kept his feet firmly planted in both worlds.
Now, beyond the acting, the sources really emphasize how political Alan Rickman was. He called himself a card-carrying member of the Labour Party. And this commitment to his principles seems to have guided a lot of his choices.
Absolutely. And one of the most public examples of that was him turning down a CBE in 2008.
Right, a commander of the Order of the British Empire. That's a pretty high honor to refuse.
It's a huge statement. It really speaks to someone who valued his independence, his ability to critique maybe over being embraced by the establishment.
And that political conviction really came to a head with the play My Name is Rachel Corrie, didn't it? That caused quite a stir.
It really did. He was deeply affected by the diaries and emails of Rachel Corrie, the American activist who was killed in Gaza in 2003. He co-edited them into a one-woman play and directed it in London in 2005. It got great reviews there.
But transferring it to New York was where the problems started.
Big problems. The New York Theater Workshop basically postponed it indefinitely. The management cited fears of boycotts, protests, worries that it would be seen as, quote, anti-Israeli agitprop.
How did Rickman react to that?
He was furious. He called it censorship born out of fear. He really stood by the play, arguing it wasn't a political manifesto, but just one person's perspective, using her own words. He saw it as an act of empathy.
And he felt the controversy wasn't really reflective of how actual audiences responded.
Yeah, he made that point later. He said many Jews supported it. There was no shouting in the theater. People simply listened to each other. For him, the theater was meant to be that space for listening, for understanding different viewpoints, not just a battleground.
That commitment to social issues stayed with him right to the very end, didn't it?
It really did. The sources say his very last piece of recorded work was lending his voice to a short video for Oxford University students. It was aimed at raising funds and awareness for the refugee crisis.
Wow. And his philosophy on acting itself seems to echo that focus on listening and empathy. What was his main advice?
His core advice was simple but profound. Acting is about accurate listening. He believed the best actors are the best listeners because then the reactions, the performance comes honestly.
Which connects back to how he played villains, doesn't it? He said, you can't judge character you play.
Exactly. He refused to impose his own morality onto them. For Rickman, characters just have different goals, different desires, and they use different methods to get them. Some methods we see as good, some bad. But by not judging, he could fully embody them, which is why even his villains felt complex, not just cardboard cutouts.
A very insightful, almost detached approach to understanding motivation.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the film he named as his biggest influence was Robert Altman's Nashville.
Which fits perfectly, doesn't it? Nashville is this huge ensemble piece, observing all these different lives in 70s America without really passing judgment. That focus on observation, on capturing nuance, it makes sense that it resonated with him.
And his final film role, I Am the Sky from 2015, seems like a fitting capstone, thematically.
Totally. He played General Benson alongside Helen Mirren, and the whole film is about the incredibly difficult moral choices surrounding drone warfare.
Heavy stuff.
Very. It's about the weight of responsibility on governments, on military leaders. It feels incredibly fitting that his last performance was in a film wrestling with these huge contemporary ethical questions.
And the critics saw the significance, too. Stephen Holden's review of the New York Times really stands out. He called it a great one, suffused with a dyspeptic, world-weary understanding of war and human nature. What a final note to go out on.
A powerful, thoughtful end to an extraordinary screen career. To really get the measure of Alan Rickman, you have to look at his personal life, too, which was remarkably consistent and private, especially that relationship with Rima Horton.
Yeah, 50 years together. That's incredible in any walk of life, let alone show business.
Yeah.
They met really young, didn't they? He was 19, she was 18, way back in 1965, long before the fame.
Long before. And Rima Horton, she was formidable in her own right. A Labor Party counselor for 20 years, an economics lecturer. You can see the shared intellectual and political foundation must have been incredibly strong.
They lived together for decades, since the early 70s, but only got married very quietly in 2012.
Yeah, private ceremony in New York, and he only confirmed it publicly in 2015. They guarded their privacy fiercely.
Which makes the end seem even more poignant. The illness came quite suddenly.
It seems so. He had a minor stroke in August 2015, and that led to the diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. And just like his marriage, he kept the terminal diagnosis completely private, only telling his innermost circle. It was handled with that same discretion that marked his whole life.
And then he died just a few months later, January 14th, 2016. He was 69.
Yeah, the timing was just uncanny. David Bowie had died only 4 days earlier. Also 69, also from cancer, also kept private. Losing both of them, these unique, complex artists, so close together, it felt like a real cultural shockwave.
Absolutely. The tributes that came out for Rickman were so heartfelt. They really spoke to the person he was, not just the actor.
Definitely. J.K. Rowling called him a magnificent actor and a wonderful man. Simple, but says it all.
And Daniel Radcliffe's tribute was particularly moving, about his loyalty.
Yeah, Radcliffe shared how Rickman came to see literally everything he ever did on stage in London and New York. He didn't have to do that, Radcliffe said. It really shows that mentorship role he took on with the younger Potter cast.
Emma Thompson's words were powerful, too, capturing his, maybe slightly difficult side.
Yeah. She talked about his intransigence, which made him the great artist he was, his ineffable and cynical wit, the clarity with which he saw most things. She saw the integrity in his stubbornness, maybe.
And, of course, everyone talked about the voice.
Always the voice, Kate Winslet just said tearfully. And that voice, oh, that voice. And Helen Mirren put it perfectly. It could suggest honey or a hidden stiletto blade.
So when you pull it all together, turning down the CBE, ending his career with films about moral responsibility, using his last recording to help refugees, it feels like his legacy is about so much more than just Gruber or Snape. It's about that integrity, that social conscience.
Absolutely. It's a career defined by pivots, by defying expectations. And maybe the real measure isn't the awards he didn't win, but the challenging, thoughtful choices he made right up to the end.
So we really encourage you, if you only know him from the big roles, go back and watch something like Truly, Madly, Deeply. Or check out his directing in The Winter Guest. See the other sides.
He was always searching for truth, it seems, whether on a classical stage, in a blockbuster, or through political work. So maybe the final thought for you is, what does that commitment to honest observation, that fierce independence, tell us about what an artist's voice can really mean, beyond just the performance, something to think about, reflecting on the brilliant, defiant Alan Rickman?